In this video, we'll be discussing the important topics of fourth module, that is Introduction to Project Management under the Software Engineering and Project Management subject. So starting from the first topic we have is what is software project management. So it is a complete procedure. So let's understand, before getting into what software project management is, let's understand what software project is. So software project is a complete procedure of software development from requirement gathering to the testing and maintenance, right from this first stage to the last stage. Even after even after delivering deployment of the software also, we need to look into the maintenance part. So even that is carried out in specific time period to achieve particular software product. This process is called as the software project. So what is software project management? So software project management is discipline of defining, achieving targets and providing necessary support while optimizing the new resources. So our main aim in software project management is to optimize the resources, be it time, money, people, materials, energy, or anything over the course of a project. So software project management involves planning, monitoring and control of resources during software development. So that's what I told. Next we have what is planning, monitoring and control. So all projects aim to meet specific requirements. We know this. And projects must satisfy the needs of stakeholders. This is again a prerequisite condition, right? So we make use of efficient project management. Efficient project management ensures that stakeholders' objectives are met, and knowing the present state of project is important, because only if we know the present state we can plan accordingly, like if it will be able to meet the future objectives. Like in next week, if we have to submit a functionality, will it meet or not? To predict that, we should know the present state of project. Then we have continuous monitoring. So continuous monitoring is pretty important because it helps us to control and stay on track. So this was about planning, monitoring and control. Looking at the importance of software management. So financial risks. So if we don't pay attention towards managing while creating or working on a project, no, it might lead to financial losses also, financial risk also. That is, there is a lot of amount being invested into the project, right? So we should make sure that there is no loss happening. That is the first point, financial risks. Then we have project mismanagement. Project mismanagement is again a sort of financial loss or resources loss, where if we don't pay proper attention, no, our project might turn out to be something else. The requirements were different and whatever we have designed is completely different. Then we have the success rates. So in order to make sure that our project works properly and it achieves the success rates are high to our project, we should manage it properly. That is, according to a 2003 report, only 1/3 of analyzed projects were successful. 82% of them were late, and 43% of them, in those 43%, the budget exceeded while working on the project. So avoid all this and get the success rate. We should make sure that our project is managed properly. Then we have skill and approach. So if people working in our team are they don't have sufficient skills or lack of skills, then it leads to there is somewhere the efficiency is not met, right? So we should make sure that people in our team, or we should manage the employees such a way that the efficiency is always high and the product is delivered by making sure that all the resources are optimally used. So that is what importance of software management speaks of. Then we have the project definition. Project, what is a project? A project could be it is a planned or mostly a large scale undertaking which needs careful planning, management, and particularly when tasks are non-routine and exploratory in nature. So any task or any functionality to develop, or any application to develop could be termed as project here. So this project, in order to understand the definition of this project, there are a standard dictionary meanings. Okay, one is specific plan. That is a specific plan or a design. That is one definition. And we have planned understanding. That is, we know how to execute the project, what is it and all of that. So it can be termed as planned understanding also. Then we have large undertaking. Large undertaking is something which is as we discussed, large scale planning, management, undertaking. We are accepting that particular project and working on it, right? That particular task and working on it. So it could be termed as large undertaking also. Next, moving on further, we have a diagram, pictorial representation of jobs versus projects. So job is like one time you assign it, you do it, it is done. Whereas a project is continuous involvement of the teammates as well as the stakeholders need to be there. So we have routines here, uncertainty of outcome. So while we are working on a project, we may not be sure about what outcome will we get. So depending on that outcome, we explore further. Okay, we explore further, retrace where we have gone wrong and work on it to make sure that our project achieves success. So we can see next topic, that is characteristics of a project. So characteristics of a project, first point we have is non-routine tasks involved. Non-routine tasks means tasks which are not regular, like day-to-day operations, something unique. So if I have to build a YouTube application, I may not create a login page for the users and the creators every now and then when I'm working in a company, right? So whenever a project comes, then only I start working on it. So non-routine tasks are involved. Planning is required. So in order to create the website, create the application, extensive planning is required. Then we have specific objectives or product to be met. So objectives, what should be achieved, what is the final goal, and how should our final product be, how should it work, and all of that come under objectives and product to be met. Then we have predetermined time span. That is, okay, to complete the login page we get 1 week of time, then to complete the search functionality we get 1 week time, and all of that come under predetermined time span. Work is carried out for someone other than yourself. So we are not developing the application for ourselves, right? We are doing it for the stakeholder. Then we have work involves several specialisms. That is, we make use of multiple, like different sorts of mechanisms are used here, and we work on it to develop the product. Then there are like special involvements of different types of softwares, like algorithms and all of that. Then we have work is carried out in several phases. Yes, as we have discussed, the entire project is divided into functionalities and we work on those functionalities. The resources that are available for use on project are constrained. So whatever the resources we have, no, they are limited. Okay, so it could be time, money, people who are working on that project, and all of that. The systems available in our system may not be an example, but then yeah, the resources are constrained. Okay, then we have project is large and complex. So like projects like involve multiple components. It could be large and complex in nature. Then we have software project versus other types of project. What is software? Like other types of project could be like road construction if we take a civil project, or it could be like developing some medicine if we take a chemical project, and all of that. Invisibility. So whatever whatever the software we develop, no, it is not immediately visible to the end user, right? So whereas if you construct a road, it will be visible. All the process, everything, right, from the foundation to the final part, everything is visible to user. But then when it comes to software projects, it is not visible. Then you have complexity. Compared to other types of projects, our software projects are pretty complex because we have to deal with a lot of things, lot of functionalities, algorithms, and the requirements also should be met. Then we have conformity. So like traditional engineers, they work such a way that all the classic rules and regulations are maintained. But then when it comes to our software project, depending on what the user tells, what the stakeholder tells, we need to take the decisions accordingly and work on it and develop our project. Then we have flexibility. Flexibility, again the same. So while developing a road, you are developing a road this way. In the middle, a person comes and says, don't develop it this way, develop it this way. Will it happen? No, it won't happen, right? But then in case of software projects, it is possible. We can redevelop the functionalities again. Next, we have the activities covered by software project management. So firstly, we have three activities majorly. First one is feasibility study. Feasibility study means we check if the project is viable. Like, is it worth developing the project, like investing our time, money, and everything? So business case, operation cost. So we check from the business perspective, and we check the operational cost. Is it really viable? Is it really worthy spending our time and money on that? What are the benefits of this particular project? We'll deal into the benefits also. And then we perform the strategic planning. After planning, we prioritize the range of development products. So first, if I develop this product, this would be my profit. Because of this product, I can develop further a next enhanced version of that, is what we discuss in feasibility study. That is a study of whether the project is worth or not. Then we have planning. So in planning, we perform we outline. We have outline plan, that is like we create an outline plan for the whole project, and then we develop the first stage project. After first stage project we execute it, then we come up with a detailed plan and accurate information. So this was about planning, that is how do we do it. Then we have project execution. So project execution is it includes design and implementation. So like user interface, that is the external appearance of our software, or the internal architecture, how the internal structure and organization of our software is, and all of that comes under project execution. So we have three phases here, three activities here. First one is the feasibility study, then planning, and then project execution. So this was about activities covered under software project management. Let's move further. We have the sequence of software development activities. So the sequence of software development activities comprises of what are the steps which happen for development. First one we have is requirements. So requirements is the first step. Then we have the design, second step. Then we have coding and testing to be the third step. And then we have the installation and acceptance support as the fourth step. So here these steps, these sequences, they either have functionalities, they either have processes which are dependent on the software part, or they have functionalities which are dependent on the hardware or the system part. We'll look into them one by one. First we have is requirement analysis. So in requirement analysis, we gather the requirements, and we perform with requirement elicitation, gathering. We make sure that potential users are there contributing to the requirements, and then multiple views we consider, then class. We have discussed all this in second module, right? Then we come up with architectural design. Architectural design is there are further three steps. First step is to identify the components. So which are all the components are useful for developing the product. So here component could be hardware, software, or any network process or anything. Okay. Then we come up with requirement analysis. So first we identified the component, then we have legacy systems. We'll see if the particular design which we want is existing in the market or existing in our company or not. If it is existing, we will try to come up with new components which we can deploy on our particular software we are working upon. Then we have the system architecture design. System architecture design is we design the internal architecture of the system, like how the software and non-software components would be connected, how will it work, and all of that. Then we have the requirement analysis, that is the first point only which we have discussed, elicitation, gathering, validation, negotiation, and all of that. Then we have architectural design here. So architectural design, again the same definition. Requirement analysis, same definition. It comes under designing part. So next we have is the code and test part. In code and test part, we maintain the detailed design. So detailed design will comprise each software component has multiple software units, right? So detailed design of these units is carried out separately, allowing us to have complete knowledge of that particular application or component. That is what detailed design is. Then we code and test. We write the code for each software unit, and then we perform initial testing, that is to debug if there are any individual errors in the units which we have written. Then we have is the integration. So in integration we have two types of testing, that is component testing and combination testing. Component testing we write we check each component if it works properly or not. Then we combine all these components and then check it. That comes under combination testing. That is integration is done. Then is qualification testing. In qualification testing, we test the entire system. Once all the units are developed, we test the entire system, will it work properly or not. That comes under qualification testing. Then we have installation. So installation is we have to the ease at which we can install that particular software in our system. So then we have the acceptance support. Acceptance support is if there is any problem coming up, we should resolve it. And if there like time to time software maintenance and upgrading is also required. So this was about sequence of software development activities. I have written down all the key points which need to be mentioned in the answer. So I would say that if you draw this diagram for like 3/4 page, rest 1.5 page you can fill it with the content. So it's just playing with words, but the key points need to be highlighted in exam. As I've told in previous videos also, SCPM is one subject where we have to write a lot of theory stuff. So the evaluator won't have time to read each and every line. But then if we highlight the key points, they'll have understanding that okay, the like relevant points might be covered under the answer and they might give marks. So this was about the sequence of software development activities. Next we have is next we look into the difference between method and a plan. So what is a method? Method is a general approach to do any activity. Okay, to write answer, this is the method. First I wrote with black pen, then I drew the partitioning with red pen, and I wrote all the points below each other. So in this we analyze the requirements, derive the test cases, derive the test scripts, then compare the results. So collection of methods come under methodology. Okay, coming to planning. Planning is actually implementing the method. So I decided that I'll do this, but then if I'm implementing it in reality, it comes under planning. So we have a start and end date. We have the responsible parties, like who will be participating in our for carrying out the activity, which teams would be there or who will be there and all of that. Then we have the required tools and materials. Required tools could be the softwares which we are using, or the materials here could be the resources, information and all of that. So next we have categorizing software projects, or the ways of categorizing software project. So in order to categorize software project, we should look into the criteria first. Criteria is first we'll look into the scope. So scope is what value, like the extent and the boundaries of our project. So if I develop a YouTube application, it will be only applicable to the YouTube users. I cannot use it in Instagram, right? I cannot make Instagram users use this application or something like that. Then we have complexity. Complexity is like how complex is our project in terms of the requirements or the design and implementation part. Then we have the size. So the scale at which our project is being developed. How many stakeholders are there, what are the functionalities we need to develop and all of that. Then we have types. So what type of a project is it? Is it like a development project or enhancement project of a legacy project which is already available? Then we have domains. There are different domains, healthcare, banking and all of that. It comes under domains also. So the first way of categorizing is depending on the users. We have compulsory users and voluntary users. So by the definition only we can understand by compulsory users means they'll have to work with the software all the time. For example, like an employee in bank has to use the banking software daily, right? But then when it comes to voluntary users, suppose if I have if I take if I take any banking software for that matter, any application, web application, voluntary users, the end customer is a voluntary user, because whenever he wants to check his balance or transfer money or do other operations, he'll access the particular software, right? So that's what compulsory users versus voluntary users speaks of. Then we have information system and embedded system. Information system means it provides, it is purely data based, like just the information is given out. But then information system could be the news application which we have. And embedded system is like a combination of hardware and software. Embedded system could be the washing machine which we have. So while developing a washing machine, we make use, it is again a software project only. We are combining the hardware part again and the software part. Then we have hybrid. Hybrid is combination of both software and hardware. Okay. Then we have objectives driven and product driven. So objective driven means we aim to meet certain level of objectives. So whatever the objectives provided by the user, we tend to fulfill those objectives. But then product means for a specific product, we work on it such that all the requirements, all the scenarios of the product are met. So that is what explanation of objective driven product driven is. Then we have multi-stage projects. Multi-stage project means when like a project is started, it is divided into stages. So first stage we have is object driven stage. In this we identify the need and define the requirements. After that, whatever we'll look into how and how will we develop the software. Next stage we come is product creation. That is, here we discussed all the methodologies and how to proceed with it. Here we come into application part, or we do the actual development here. Okay, so that comes under multi-stage projects. So next we have is who are the stakeholders? Who are the stakeholders in our software project? So speaking of internal team, so in our team, the members could be the stakeholders, or the leader could be the stakeholder. Coming to external to the team, but same company. So here we have the users who are like from the other departments, other teams, or the manager of a particular team, or the support department. Next we have is external. So these stakeholders are neither a part of our team nor a part of our organization. So they could be the customers, or it could be the contractor, or it could be the vendor. Okay, so this was about the stakeholders who play a major role in software projects. Next we'll move, we have setting objectives. So setting objectives is pretty important in software like for project management, because once we set the objectives, it becomes easier for the stakeholders as well as the developers to go according with it. Okay, so in software management, project management, setting clear and achievable objectives are pretty important. So that's what I told. Firstly, we have is defining the objectives. So in defining the objectives, we focus on what are the outcomes. So if I develop this project, what would be the outcome? So we focus on the outcomes, and then we have the shared intentions. Shared intentions here are what is stakeholders' perspective, what is my intention. Stakeholder would be like whatever requirements I told should be met, and my objective is that I should meet all the requirements set by the stakeholder in stipulated time and obeying the particular budget. So that is my from a developer's perspective, and from a stakeholder's perspective it is different. Then we have the success criteria. So we should look if the project will become a success only if we follow so and so conditions. So those come under defining the objectives. Next we have is flexibility in achieving the objectives. So in order to achieve the objectives, first one we had is defining the objectives. Second one we have is flexibility in achieving the objectives. So in order to achieve the objective, in order to achieve success, there are multiple routes. So once we start with a project, we proceed, the flow goes on, and then if there is any error occurring here, or we are not able to move forward, there has to be multiple routes from this point such that we can reach the success. Then we have example of objectives. So objectives could range from like improving user satisfaction to increasing the system reliability, or reducing the overall cost, and so on. So these come under examples. Then we have the product ownership. So in product ownership, firstly we'll identify who is the owner, who is the stakeholder. Okay, among various stakeholders, who will have the supreme authority and ownership of the project. So by selecting the project owner also, we can define or change the objectives. Then we have the project authority. After deciding who is the supreme owner, we'll now decide who will have the authority. Okay, then comes role of project steering committee. That is, in this committee we have composition. So in this committee we'll have the users, stakeholders, developers, testers, and everyone will be there. Then we have the responsibility. In responsibilities, objectives are set, what to do anta. Then we monitor the progress, and we also as and when required, we also modify the objectives. So during the meeting, if stakeholder tells this has to be changed, then ultimately because of the requirement change, our objectives will also change. Then we have role of project manager. In project manager should do day-to-day management. You should make sure that the employees are working properly. You should interact with the stakeholders on a regular basis, and whatever the challenges are, any problem is occurring, he should face it. And reporting is also one of his or her main task. So in order to achieve the objectives, we cannot directly go to the objectives, right? So here we derive sub-objectives and set up goals. Sub objectives are objectives which are like tiny objectives. Okay, they won't cover the entire outlook or entire abstract of our project, but then it could be incremental approach. So for this week this is the objective, for next week this is the objective. Along with the objective comes the goals. So with this objective is, in this week if we complete the login application completion is our goal, and objective is to make a efficient and all the whatever the user has specified, whatever the stakeholder has specified, all the requirements should be enabled in our login page. So that is about sub objectives and goals. Next we have the SMART criteria for well-defined objectives. So SMART stands for specific. We'll look into it one by one. So specific. So our objectives should be specific, clear, well-defined, and it should not be very vague and like distributed. Okay, then we have measurable. So whatever the objectives we derive, no, they should be measurable in terms of effectiveness. Will it be really effective and will it be feasible is what we should look. Then we have achievable. Achievable means it has to be realistic and attainable. Understood. Then we have relevant. So the objectives which we are forming should be should go along with the purpose and goal of our project. Then we have time constraint. So that is within a stipulated time frame, our objective, we should form objectives such that our objective is satisfied. So you have an objective to complete the entire project and you have 1 week. It is not possible, right? So accordingly you should depending on the time frame also, you should derive or define the objectives. So this was about the SMART criteria. This is again important topic. Next we have business case. So what is business case? Why do we need business case? So business case is like important for understanding how a project works. So it outlines benefits that project aim to achieve and compares them with the cost involved. So during feasibility study, we do cost benefit analysis, right? We check if whatever the requirements are there and whatever project we are developing, are it feasible? Is it feasible like in terms of cost? Then we have time sensitivity is directly proportional to benefit. So if we complete a project in stipulated time, the benefits are also more, right? So in 10 days, if we complete an application, we can rest 20 days days of a month could be invested in other project. So thereby we have the companies working hard, getting many projects, getting paid well, and all of that. Then we should formulate the business model. So formulation of business model is pretty important because a business model explains us how the application will generate the benefits. For example, like a e-commerce website could increase the sales by allowing global customers to order like products online. Then we have impact. Like along with that, we have check project success and business success. So these two should be in parallel. So along with the project success, we should also make sure that the business aspect is also looked or taken into consideration. Business aspect here comes with the requirements and the resources which are being used and the market price, the market rate of our project. Then we should align the project management with business needs. Yeah, this is what we have been discussing from the starting point, right? Then we have management. Next we have is management. So what is management and what are the factors affecting the management? What are the steps we need to do in management? So management is like a wide range of spectrum which comprises of the following activities. So management, first we have planning. So in planning we define what are the objectives, and then we set how to proceed with the objectives, how to deal with the requirements. We set modeling is done, and then the tasks are divided, we work on those tasks. All that comes under planning. The strategic way of doing the project comes under planning. Then we have monitoring. Monitoring is again important from a manager's perspective because he or she has to make sure that the employees are working properly, and along with that even the project is developed such a way that the user requirements are met. Then we have organizing. So in organizing, we organize the resources, roles, responsibilities of the project. We create like different groups and all of that. Then we have controlling. So from a manager's perspective, it is very important to control, be it having interactions with the stakeholder or the team members, reviewing the team members and all of that. Then we have staffing. Staffing is selecting and assigning works to the right people. So if a person knows a particular is good at some particular thing, that task should be allotted to him or her. That comes under staffing. Then we have innovating. So in innovating, it's again like when you're developing new project, you aim to innovate, come up with new processes, new solutions, new algorithms to the problem, right? Then we have directing. Directing is providing necessary instructions and guiding the teammates or guiding the project also in right direction. Then we have representing. Representing is having interaction between the stakeholder and the developers, like all the validation and all of that negotiation, all that is done through representation only. It comes under management of the project only, project management only. Then we have project control cycle. Project control cycle, you can understand from the diagram itself. So we have, from the real world, we take the data. So the data is taken and processed. So the data is further processed into information. From these informations, we make decisions or take plans. So once a decision is done, we implement it. Once it is implemented, again, there will be action in the real world, right? Then along with that, we have objectives which are also being defined, and then modeling is also done as the intermediate step. So setting objectives. So in setting objectives, we start setting the clear objectives, what has to be achieved and how will it happen, execution part and all of that comes under setting objectives. Then we have monitor the performance. So we need to monitor the performance, that is like the track of our progress. Are we really working towards the targets, meeting the targets, identifying if there are any errors in our development or not. Then make decisions. So we take decisions so as to work on the requirements and address if any changes are there. Then we have modeling consequences. Modeling consequences means we build a model, and before implementing the before implementing the design, we build a model so as to understand from different perspectives. Will it work? If there are any risks along with that, what are the benefits along with this particular decision? So taking decision 1 will generate model 1 and check if decision 1 is proper or not. Then we have reviewing and adjusting. So as and when we go through the models or decisions, we review it. Yes, we are reviewing it, and if one is not feasible, then we come up with second model. That is, we are adjusting the decisions. Then all these things, they are iterative process. So they are like cycle. They revolve. Continuous assessment, decision making, adjusting happen in cycler manner. Okay. So this was about project control cycle. Next we have traditional versus modern day practices in management. So if you look at textbook, it is pretty lengthy, but then I happen to write it in this tabular format so that it's easy to compare and contrast. So firstly, in traditional and modern practices in management, firstly we have the project management, that is detailed planning before execution. Whereas in modern day, we do incremental delivery planning, that is, okay, for this week we'll do only this much, after that we'll see whatever happens later. So fixed long-term plans, but then here we have flexible and evolving long-term plans. 1 week we did this, next week we'll do this, next week we'll do this. So or in second week, if there are any changes, we evolve, the plans are adjusted or changed accordingly. Then if we look at the projects which are taken in traditional, they are predictable and simple projects. But then coming to the modern day practices, all the projects which we take are complex and rapidly changing projects. Then the final delivery is done one time at the end. But then here we have the incremental delivery, that is, upon development of each functionality, we deliver it to the stakeholder, take the valid feedback from the stakeholder, and then make sure that we inculcate all these feedbacks in our project. And then again in the next incremental delivery, those requirements had to be met. Then we have less focus on human and stakeholder management, but then here high focus on human and stakeholder involvement is pretty high. Then we have the final stage here is the quality check, but then here we do continuous tracing and assessment, and the quality is checked in incremental order. Here the requirements are not, we cannot change the requirements, but then we can positively incorporate the changes here. Here we have the fixed requirements, here we have the changing requirements. Here we have limited focus on risk management, but then here we identify, assess and prioritize and mitigate risks on every incremental or delivery order. Okay. Then we have the fixed scope for this, but then for this we have dynamic scope. So this was about traditional versus modern day practices. Next, if we look at this, we have project management life cycle and system software development life cycle. So these two are again important questions. 10 marks they can ask this. There's nothing much to write, but yeah, this diagram and the other diagram would be sufficient enough. So in developers case, software development life cycle. So in this life cycle, software development process happens. Coming to manager takes care of the project management, right? So project management processes, in that we have project management life cycle and project life cycle management. Along with that, the project should happen concurrently. So looking at the steps, so firstly we have initializing the phase. So we initialize the phase of the project, that is from the functionalities we discuss. Okay, this has to be done first. This is the first phase, develop this first, and then we plan this phase, initializing the phase, planning the phase, execution of phase, and closing of phase. So we broke the entire problem into phases. We discussed which phase should be started, and then we planned as to how to proceed with the phase, how to execute the phase. Then we came to the execution part, we executed the phase. Once that phase is completed, we close the phase and move on to the next phase. Coming to software development life cycle, we have requirement analysis, and then we design from the requirements, and then we develop, and then we test and code and test, and then we deliver the final product. So this was under software development life cycle. So like expanding these terminologies, you can write 5 points for project management life cycle and 5 points for system software development life cycle. So this was about the differences and the comparison. Next we have project success and failure. So project success factors. What are the factors affecting the success of project? So if the objectives are clear and the scope is clear, yes, it leads to success. Effective communication should happen between the teammates. There has to be strong project planning. Stakeholders engagement should be there, as in when any changes required, they should tell so that we can implement them in real time. Then we have the teammates working in our team should be motivated. So if they are motivated, we can do the work easily, quickly, and yeah, efficiency is increased. Then we have agile and adaptive approaches. So we should make sure that we have adaptive approaches instead of sticking to the classical approaches. What are the causes of failure? Looking at the causes of failure, unclear requirements. Requirements are not clear from the stakeholder side, or we have not written down it properly. Poor project management. So the management aspect is not clear in this. The scope is not properly defined. Then we have inadequate resources. Resources are not allotted properly. Then we have technical challenges. While working on the coding part or development part, there are some technical challenges. And then we have resistance to change. That is, I am not ready to change. Once a project is allotted to me in the intermediate process, if you say change this, I won't be able to inculcate it. That's when failure can happen. So we have reached to an end of this fourth module. I have tried covering all the important topics in this video. If you have any doubts, do let me know in the comments. And I would suggest you to go through the notes. It will be available in the description. And if you have any doubts, let me know. And stay tuned. I'll be uploading the fifth module soon. And thank you.